Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of TalkFlow. This is episode 17, I believe. And we know, guys, we do apologize. We haven't uploaded in, I think, 2 weeks, which is
Almost three.
almost three. Yeah. It's our fault. We do apologize. We do
We
apologize.
we
We've
were,
just
we
been a
were
bit
actually.
busy with work
I
and
just
stuff.
looked at the page earlier today in the office. Like we actually had pretty good schedule, and it just dropped.
Yeah. We had a really good schedule. Like we were, we were on a roll, but it stopped for like 2 weeks. I don't know. Actually, don't know why. I
I
think I
think we
just
just
got
run out,
tired.
and we run out of guests because we have
Yeah.
we reached out to quite a lot, but only a few
Mm.
sort of reply.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. We're back. Okay, we're back with another episode, and this episode is gonna be, as you can tell from the title, how to deal with stressful Webflow clients like a pro. And yeah, I think because the reason why I wanted to make this video, or why we wanted to make this video, is because even myself, like when I first started, I had a really bad experience with my first Webflow client. I didn't know how to handle the situation. So I think it would be good, for both of us to talk from our experiences of how to deal with clients that are annoying per se, and how to deal with that, and how to, you know,
Yeah,
um, I don't know how to like deal with the client without being disrespectful, and
yeah,
coming out the other side.
yeah.
Okay, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're gonna start off with a disclaimer, and to be honest, the disclaimer is just, most clients are great. Like most of the clients that I have, most of the clients that them have are very, very good clients.
Okay,
And
let's do this. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't say great. Like I
mm,
think it's a bell curve, isn't it? Like I think
all right,
like most clients are decent. Like they're good, they're
yeah,
nice, they pay you on time, you work with them, everything's going smooth. There's always a bit of friction. Everybody has a
mm,
different agenda, so there will be a bit of friction with most clients. But you wouldn't call them bad, or you wouldn't say like they were amazing. They were nice
yeah,
clients, they were great clients. And then usually, very rarely, you see both ends where you see a great
yeah,
client and
yeah,
as equally as rare, you'll see like a disaster of a client.
yeah.
And I
Like
think
some of the great clients could be like the top clients could be
yeah,
clients that give you
it's
full
like I
control,
think after
stuff
you
like
end a
that.
project, if you still want to work with them again, or like you can't wait to continue working with them, that's a great client. But most of us, I think,
Yeah,
once we're done with the work, we sort of just move on to the next one, and we don't
right.
really think
Yeah,
too much about it. I
hmm
think that sort of falls in like the normal, they're fine, they're okay sort of category.
yeah, yeah.
And then
That
there's
makes
some that
sense.
you
Yeah,
just don't want to work with again.
yeah. But I think the majority of the clients we do get, I think a better way of putting it is the majority of the clients that we do get are not bad clients. Like they are
Yeah,
like
and even for
average
me,
and
I
above,
think
if that makes sense.
besides what the client that you'll talk about, I personally never had a like in the bulk of like a bad client. They've
Mm,
always been still within the respect boundary, or like they were still
mm,
okay-ish, but it's just that they
mhm.
got a bit far from the norm, like a bit too
Right.
far from the norm. But
Like
I've
let's say on
never,
a scale from 0 to 10, they were probably like a 3 or a 4.
yeah, yeah, a
But for
three or
me,
four. It's
for me it
yours
was
went all the way
0.
up like negative 10.
Oh God.
They
We're
want to
gonna
go
talk
to that.
about that, but yeah, but the main message of the disclaimer is, most of the clients that we do get, and most of the clients that you're gonna get is they're gonna be good clients.
Yeah,
But some clients are gonna break boundaries and step over the line, and that's what we're gonna talk about. And
yeah,
the reason we're making this video is like the main thing is that we have to, us as freelancers, our job is to set boundaries and protect ourselves, to make sure that the client, respects us and treats us like the experts we are, if that makes sense.
and
And
vice
yeah,
versa.
just to set those. And I think I heard somebody say that most of the time we freelancers make bad clients, and I kind of agree with that to an extent, because if you don't set the correct boundaries, and if you overpromise, you can make the client a bad client because you overpromise. You know what I mean? So it is, partly our job to make sure that we set good boundaries so the client doesn't turn out bad, if that makes sense. And it's
Yeah.
also the client's job to make sure that they're respectful and respect the boundaries that you do set. Um, so yeah, that's just a disclaimer. Do you have anything else to say for morning or?
No, I think we can jump into your story.
I think you should start off with yours
mine
because
mine is just yeah, yeah,
if I start off with mine, yours is gonna look like what the hell. So I
true.
think
Yeah, we'll get them to watch, extend the retention time a bit.
retention time,
For
retention
me,
time.
I think I haven't really had a horrible client, but I can sort of
Mhm.
if I look back and see sort of three clients that sort of I didn't feel like I wanted to work with. The first one was
Right.
way back when I started, like 2 years ago. I think I told you, like, I was on this freelance platform and I saw this guy who was looking for a website, and under budget he didn't put anything, so I just expected like, okay, he really doesn't know, or he doesn't have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to him, and I was actually a bit more confident than I am now, for some fucking reason. I just reached out, I was like, yeah, yeah, we can help. And then he was like, okay, yeah, I want a kick-ass site with great design, animation, like
Ah, the
really
usual.
interactive. But yeah, I was like, but back then I was like, oh, great, like this guy's gonna be a great guy. And and then he was like, oh, I need a video to go with the site as well. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Like I can edit a video, like it's not that hard, isn't it? And
Mm-mm.
then I told him, I put everything together, I quoted him. I still got less than like $800. At most it's 500 or 600 bucks. I,
Mm-hmm.
I I can't remember. And then he said, no, I can only do 100 or 200. I'm like, okay, this guy this guy is going to be a nightmare client. Then and
Yeah.
there I should have just ended it. But then for some reason I just wanted to experience what it feels like to work with a with such a client, right? Otherwise you don't
Yeah.
know how you're going to react. Like, I knew going into the project that it's going to be a bad guy, not a bad guy, like a bad project to be on. And then, and the mindset I had was like, if it sort of becomes way more than I can handle, I can just give back the money. I lose a couple of
Mm-hmm.
days, but that's fine. I don't have anything better else to do, isn't it? And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as usual, the project didn't go anywhere. He was just asking for way too much for like $150, I think.
Yeah. Damn.
And I just ended up like just say like, hey, find someone else, give him back the $50 he deposit. I just gave him
Mm-hmm.
back the money.
$50 deposit. That's 1 month of Webflow, bro. Damn. Okay.
And then after that, I don't really remember having sort of a bad client until recently, like around November-ish. I wouldn't say they were a bad client. I think they were stepping into the boundaries a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, so they had a Figma file, they had a design already, but it's just that it wasn't packaged properly, meaning that it wasn't consistent. Like margins and padding and kerning and all of these things were just done visually. Like when you look at it, it looks fine, but when you're developing it, you certainly can't have 20 different heading sizes and 20 different margins for each paragraph. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like one paragraph is 16 and the next one is like 22, and then the next one is
Right.
23.5, and then the next one is like 17. It was just very random. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know what? For development, what I normally do is I sort of find the middle ground. Like if it's 20 and 21, I just make them 20. Like just
Mm-hmm.
make them both the same. Whereas if they're quite different, I just make them two different things. And then once everything was done, they were like, the feedback was literally like, oh, this feels off. The kerning here feels off. Here the size is not the same as Figma. Here the size is not. And the worst thing is I gave them access to markup.io, so they can
Oh,
literally pinpoint every single thing. And the worst thing is
yeah.
that we're actually looking at it from like a MacBook Air, like the 11-inch, like a bloody 11-inch MacBook Air. And within that, they were looking through it through markup.io. So a lot of their comment was like, this is way too big. This is way too big. I'm like, wait, no, what screen size are you looking at it from? And they're like, oh, it's a MacBook Air. I'm like, oh my god, that's fine. But then and the
Yeah.
Figma file they gave us was like 1920 by 1080. Like that was the artboard size.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my god. So we had to go back and change everything. After a point, I'm just like, oh my god, can you just stop? Because they were like, oh, can this text be this color? So there's, for example, it was orange.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same sort of orange, but it's a slightly different tone. Like you won't even notice it. That's the difference
Yeah.
within the hex code. I'm like, just doing that's gonna add an extra class to your site, an extra
Mm-hmm.
thing for you to maintain. They didn't get it. I was like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. I just did. It was like probably the worst site that I've done. It looks
Yeah.
fine. It looks fine, but once you step into the designer, it's like I would never ever let anyone else look into that work.
Yeah. And
And then
I remember before, like you said, I think it was on your LinkedIn as well, where a client ghosted you halfway. So why didn't you talk a
oh,
little bit
that
more about
one.
that?
Oh yeah, good one actually. Yeah, that guy.
Because I think the audience might want to know as well.
Okay, yeah, that was the only sort of ghosting. Like client I had. So initially it was pretty fun. He was pretty nice. He very responsive. He even paid up like the 50% deposit, right? And up to that point, that was like the biggest project I worked on. So I was like, okay, this guy
Mhm.
sounds legit. Everything's good. Over delivered on the project. We've had like a artist, like a third person come in. It was a really exciting project. And then literally like 2 days before like sending it off and getting the final payment, his reply started to get a bit late. Like if I reply him today, he replies tomorrow, and then that became 2 days, and that became 3 days, and I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
already done with the site. I just need a handover to him. I just need him to like tell me if everything's okay. Otherwise, get, give me the payment. I'll send him the site, and then he just
Yeah.
ghosted me. For some reason, he paid 50% of the money, and then he just has the final site, and then for some reason he ghosted me. And I was like, why would you do that though? Like you already pay. I mean, even if you want to say, okay, you know what, I can't pay you the next 50%. At least tell
Yeah.
me that because I can then use the site for something else.
Did you reply back ever?
I just swore at him.
Oh shit.
He still hasn't seen it for some reason. It's so weird. I don't
Do you
know.
still like use a project in your portfolio at least, or
Yeah.
is it? Oh,
I mean, it's a
okay.
nice site. It's a pretty sick site, but it's just
Uh,
like,
yeah, I'm gonna
okay,
be
he,
asking
he
you
was
about that
actually
side later.
he was actually in the great client side. Like the amount of creative freedom
Oh
he
right,
had
but I just
was
wonder. It was
crazy.
just like random stuff. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
very
it just like
randomly
it was
ghosted
like
you,
from the
innit?
creative, like he was a great client, and within like 2 days he went to like the worst one. I
Oh,
still don't know what happened to him. I don't even know if he's alive or he's dead or something. But yeah, that was like
oh
the
God.
night. Yeah, that's the only
Oh,
only few
yeah,
clients I can think of.
yeah. I think for my story, I mean, I got a couple. Actually, I'll probably only have like two,
I
but
think I
one of
think
them
your
was
your one is
yeah,
like the finale. I think you should just kick off with that
yeah.
one. I think that's
I think I'll start off with like the less one, but basically one of my, I remember this was like I don't remember when it was, but I remember when I used to work like part time in like my I think I mentioned this in like the first ever episode of TalkFlow. So for those that want to know the backstory about how I got started and stuff, you can watch the first episode. But my first ever client was a jeweler, and then because I used to work in his office, and then because I used to work in his office, I used to like learn sales and like how to sell jewelry and all that stuff. It wasn't like a real job because I wasn't like hired on paper. It was just like sort of a part-time commission type thing, right? And during that time, I met like a couple of my colleagues there, and basically like it was like a mutual client basically. So it was like a referral. One of my colleagues that used to work with me in the jeweler, he knew some guy that needed a website. So I went to his house. Literally, I went to his house, and it was weird, right? So I went to his house, bro. This is like probably like my second ever Webflow client. So I went to his house, um, and then yeah, like he made me dinner, all of that stuff, and then we closed the project. It was like, yeah, bro, it was weird. It was
are you
more
on a
like
date or
no, it wasn't. It wasn't a date. Like, it was like because I think this was during Ramadan, I believe. And so we
oh
were like
okay, fair
fasting and
enough.
stuff,
So
and
it's
then like we
called
went to
yeah
his
yeah
house,
yeah.
broke our fast. I think so. I don't really remember. And
Okay.
then what happened was like we closed like a project there, and then like had a meeting in his house after we ate. It was like a very weird thing. Like I don't know. I thought that was normal in it. Like you go to his house and whatever, but that's fine. Um, and then yeah, I think it was around like £450 or like £500, I believe, just for that project. And he owned like a construction company. And then to be honest, it was partly my fault, but I was working on his project and stuff, and then he never used to reply to me. Like his reply rate was so bad, bro. Like I reply him to if I message him today, he probably reply to me next week. I swear to God, that's how bad it was. So then the
Wow.
project went on for like 3-4 months, bro. And the way I done the project was this is when I was starting out. I had like no
Yeah, yeah,
experience in it, so I thought, you know what, the fastest way and the most efficient way is to buy a template, from the money that I got from the project, and then just
yeah, yeah.
just
Tweak
tweak
it.
up the template and sell it.
Yeah,
I thought, that's the best way because I used to watch like how to sell
yeah,
websites, but
yeah. All this.
they always were like WordPress based, and that's what
Yeah,
all of them WordPress people say: buy a template and then work on that. But buying templates, like that's not the way to sell Webflow websites. But anyways, I tweaked up the template a bit, and bro, it was so weird because he in that project I also agreed to make him a new logo. And I was like, you know what? I'll just like quickly do a logo like on flipping Figma or something like that. I think I used Canva to make the logo. And
Oh,
then yeah, I went on. Yeah, I made the logo on Canva. I sent it to him. He's like, oh, I don't really like it. I sent him a website. He was like, oh, I don't really like it. And then, bro, he didn't reply to me. He literally ghosted me. But I think I still got paid like 50% or 75% of it. So, but yeah, I don't think. Yeah, and then after that, he didn't reply to me, and yeah, he didn't get his website. It was that kind of like what happened to you, like just ghosted
yeah.
out of nowhere.
So
Still
weird.
haven't messaged him. I don't know what he's doing. He might be dead. Who knows? But yeah, that's like the the one of the like. I think that
Milder
was
one.
like the first like bad experience I
Yeah.
had, and then the second one, oh my god, this was like I think this was probably like my third Webflow clan or fourth. I'm not really sure, but
This is a
this
good
one
one.
was like, oh my god, this one was like super stressful. I think this is like after I think a couple of weeks after me and Vamani was talking, and after we met and
Yeah.
started talking, it was a couple of weeks after. And then Vamani, you know firsthand how like the whole process went. So basically, I got this client, right? I used to do like Facebook outreach. So I think I messaged like this lady on Facebook. It was at the company profile, and I got lucky. It was like the one client that I got out of like hundreds, probably like 1,000 people that I messaged on Facebook. I was doing this like bullshit flipping like outreach methods that I found on YouTube right at the beginning of when I was right when I started my agency. So yeah, I got this client from Facebook. Lucky, it was so lucky because she was like, oh yeah, I am looking for a website actually. So it was like it was so lucky. So I got the client. I was a
Oh,
lawyer,
unlucky.
or unlucky, yeah. But I got the client, and she owned a law firm. And yeah, I done a website for her. It wasn't again. I was so stupid. I done another template. And then the thing is, I kind of it's kind of good because like I learned so much from that project, but it is also kind of bad because of the experience, right? But I think it's more good than bad because I did learn so much from that project. Because after that project, I learned how to make proper contracts. I learned to never use
Yeah,
templates ever
you
again.
better
Yeah, I learned so much from that project.
get to the fun part.
Yeah. So basically, yes, I'm just gonna get to the juicy bit of the
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah.
So
Just
basically, what happened? I'm waffling. I can't lie, but basically, I got the project, and then what happened was it was going well, whatever. Um, and we were communicating over email. And again, I used a template for some reason. I didn't learn my lesson, but I used a template, and I got the template, so I'm tweaking it a bit. And then I don't know, it's so stupid. Like, why would I use the template? But anyways, I got the template, and what I done is I copied that template in Figma, which is like so
Hmm.
stupid to me. Why would I do that? Why can't I just make a custom design? But anyways, I copied the template in Figma and like tweaked it a bit in Figma.
Mhm.
And yeah, I showed her like the Figma file. She was like, "Yeah, this is nice, whatever." And then I built the website, and then right after I built it, like fully built it out, she was like, "Oh, I don't really like this. I don't really like this." I was like, "Bro, like you just told me you saw the design
Wow.
and you said it's fine. Now when you see the
Yeah, yeah,
website, you don't like it." I was like, "Yo, it's so annoying. Just tell me. Why do you tell me now? Like, I don't know. Were you blind before? Like, did you not see the Figma design?" But anyways, it's fine. I just like sucked it up. I was like, all right, whatever, man. So I tweaked
yeah.
it, whatever. And then afterwards, like right at the end of the project, I finished the project, and then I was like connecting a domain, whatever. I connected the domain.
Hmm.
I launched, and then I told her, okay, I'm gonna launch it now. And then she was like, yeah, fine, no worries. Then I launched it to a domain, and then she messaged me literally after. She was like, why is my old website gone? I was like, what do you mean? Why is your old website gone? You told me to launch it. Like, what is wrong? This is what happens when you work with boomers. But anyway, like I told her, she told me launch it. I even got the email. She was like, yeah, no worries, let's launch it, whatever. Let's just get it up. Then I was like, fine. And then she was like, why did you launch it? Why is my old website gone? And then the second thing she said was, why is there no content filled in? I was like, what do you mean? Why is there no content? Because there was that dummy text, isn't it? And then we
Right.
agreed
Yeah.
before, literally at the start of the project, she said, well, who's going to do the content? I literally told her, like, bro, like, I don't know nothing about how lawyers work. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to write like text
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about law. And then we agreed like she's going to get it done elsewhere. And
Mm.
then she was like, oh, why did you? These were her exact words. Why did you publish a half-baked website? I was like, you told me to launch it, and secondly, it's
I mean,
half baked
did you
because you haven't got
suggest?
content ready.
Did you say let's launch it, or did she say let's launch
Bro,
it?
she was like, let's launch it already. She was like, let's launch it.
Why
Let's launch it.
didn't
It's been quite a
Why
long
didn't you
time.
tell her like, oh, the content isn't up? Do you really
Bro,
want to
she
launch it?
saw the link before. She must know, you know what I mean? I mean, it kind of was my fault. I didn't tell her that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think she
you
opened
know,
the link
I
actually.
assumed that she knew, like she saw the website itself, like, you know,
Mm,
I don't know why she only saw when like I published on the domain. Didn't you see it before? But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
there were a lot of mistakes between my side and her side, but mostly her side. But yeah,
Mm,
after that, what happened was actually like unpublish it, and then yeah, that's like, and then after that, I told her, okay, get the content ready, like get it done by another content writer or hire someone else to do it. She was like, okay, fine. And then, bro, she comes back to me after 6 months, bro, like probably like 6, 7 months, yeah. And then she was like, okay, I got the content ready. And then I was like, all right, fine, cool. Yeah, I can add the. Firstly, I was still pissed off. I was like, bro, like, why is she coming back after 6 months? Because I had this, because this was after those 6 months, I had so much more experience with other projects. And like,
yeah.
I was like, bro, like, why is she coming back? It's so annoying. But, anyways, I sucked it up. I was like, I'm going to be a good freelancer and, like, you know, meet my promises, right? So I was like, okay, fine. And she was like, okay, yeah, can you add the content? Bear in mind, she was very good with payments. Like she paid everything up front, whatever. Like
Mm.
if I send an invoice, she'll pay the same day. So she paid everything 100%, and it was a decent project as well. It was probably like my highest paying project at the time. And what happened? And yeah, she came back with the content, and she was like, oh, let's add in the content. I was like, okay, cool. And then I told her, okay, I remember I told you, Vimalin, when she sent me that email, and then you told
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
just tell
think
her
that's
like
like a
pay her
very
hourly
few.
rate, because yeah, she
Yeah.
already paid me, like she already paid me for the project, but then now you come back after 6 months, like, and then so I messaged her saying, okay, fine, here's my hourly rate, you know, how many hours do you want to do, whatever, let's jump on a call to calculate how many hours, and then she was like, but I thought I already paid for the full project. Then I was like, yeah, you did, but now you come back after 6 months telling me to add in the content that's going to require. Firstly, I didn't even agree to do the content. So firstly, I didn't agree to add the content. I told you get yourself and you can use the editor and add it yourself.
Yeah.
But then she was like, oh, I want you to do it. I was like, okay, fine, pay me my hourly rate. And then she was like, that's when it all kicked off. That's when like everything kicked off, bro. She's
The
like,
shit hit the
what do you
fan, as
mean?
they say.
I paid you like what? This is like exact words. Like, what value did you even provide? You gave me a half-baked website, a template website, da 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 da. And oh yeah, before she said that, she was like, oh yeah, I sent the website to one of my friends who owns a very big WordPress agency, and I saw their site, and I swear to God, bro, that was probably like one of the worst agencies that I've seen in my life. It was so bad. It was like the 2008 flipping WordPress agency site. It was so rubbish, and I was like, how is this agency talking to me saying that my website was bad? It was whatever, right? But yeah, she was like, oh, I messaged my friend. She owns this big WordPress agency, and she said that is bad. Like she said that is very templated, whatever. I was like, all right, whatever, fine, man. If you think she's a good agency, like go work with her. And yeah, she was like, she got the content done with them, and then yeah, she refused to pay my hourly rate for some reason because she thinks that she agreed like. Yeah, she thought, oh, she because she paid for the entire project, now she owns me. That's what she was thinking. But then I
Yeah,
told
yeah,
her, no,
yeah,
like you come back to me after 6 months with the content. Like you can't just expect me to do it for free, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
told her you
And
have to
then
pay my hourly rate. Then she got really pissed off. She got like she started sending me like really disrespectful messages saying, oh, you know what? She was like, what value do you even provide? What value did you provide me? I paid you X amount of pounds. What did I even gain from that? I gained
this was,
zero
yeah,
value.
I still
And then she sent me
remember.
like a letter of defamation, which is
Yeah.
like crazy. She sent me like a letter of defamation, like an email, like with her flipping some lawyer from India, I think was, and then she sent me, and then they sent me an email saying, "Oh, we're gonna sue you, this and that."
This was like for like $500, isn't it?
Nah, nah, it was full figures. It was full figures.
So
Yeah,
it's like $1,000 or more. I mean, still
yeah.
like
It
a
was probably like, it was like
defamation
fifteen
letter,
hundred. It was like
and
fifteen
she was
hundred.
like threatening to sue you and shit. Like,
Yeah,
bro,
bro. And then she sent me a letter of
really?
defamation saying that she's gonna sue me and like, and then she was like, "Oh, I want a screenshot of your contract because I did send her a contract." And
Yeah.
then, bro, even in the contract, like I didn't do anything wrong. It mentioned that you know we're gonna do this and that, and then I had another during this time I had another client and he owned like a law firm, but
Mm.
I didn't
He
build a
wasn't
website for his law firm. But then so then I
right.
called him. He was like a good friend of mine. So I called him. I was
Mm.
like, yo. I got this problem. This lady's trying to sue me. I need your help. He was like, yeah, don't worry, bro. Like, I
You
got
asked
you.
me for help as well. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know,
asked him. I was
bro.
like, bro, what do I? Because, bro, bear in mind, I was really young. I was 18. I was like, what
Yeah,
the
even
flip do I
even
do?
if
Like,
someone
I'm
does
getting
that to me
sued.
now, I will probably panic. I'm like, what the hell
Yeah,
do I
bro,
do?
I was panicking. I was like, I was super panicking. I was like, yo,
Yeah,
what do I do? Da 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 da. And then, yeah, I literally couldn't work. I couldn't think, bro. I couldn't think straight. I didn't work for like 3 days. And it was really like it seems funny right now, but it was a really stressful moment in like my career.
yeah.
And yeah, and then I called like my other client. He helped me. He like emailed her, and we at the end we came up with like an agreement. But even after we came up with an agreement, she was still being she was like a rude person in general. She was
Mm.
saying, oh, I don't care that you're 19, or I don't care that you're 18. You still provide no value. And she was like swearing and all of this stuff. I was like, bro, I just had enough. And bear in mind, during this entire time, I didn't say one swear word. I didn't be disrespectful once. I remained polite the entire
I
time,
don't even know how
even
you
while
do
she was saying all of this stuff. And yeah, man. And then at the end, what happened was I had to remove, like, we came up with an agreement. I had to remove all of her like portfolio from my website. I
it.
had to I think I had to like give her I had to transfer the website to her. And then she gave me like a specific date. She was like, if you do not transfer the website to my account by this day at this time, we're gonna sue you. We're gonna sue you. We're gonna sue you. I was like, bro, chill out. This was like, I was scared, bro. I was like, bro, if I don't send it about exactly this time, she's gonna sue me. And then, bro, I tried to send it before the time, but then this like, I don't wanna be rude, but this lady, yeah, she was like, okay, send the Webflow site to this email. And I tried to send her the email, but bro, this lady, I don't know what's wrong with it. That that email, it didn't even exist like in Webflow, so I couldn't send it to her. And I messaged her, I was messaging her because this was like 1 hour before the time. I messaged her, like, yo, this email, you have to create a Webflow account. Da, da. And bro, I made Loom videos for her to how to create a Webflow account because that's how much of a boomer she was. And this is the extent I went to help this like client, whatever. And then, long story short, well, it was already a very long story, but
It
yeah,
is.
like we made an agreement where I can't use any of her intellectual property on my website,
Rather not.
and then
Yeah.
I can't like I just transfer the website, or I transferred it to her, and we made an agreement where she can never contact me, I can never contact her, but I don't give a damn. I don't want to contact her. So yeah, that's what happened, and it was like a super stressful moment in my life. I can't lie. And yeah, man, that is a story, and I just
Yeah, that's
hope that
like,
no one ever goes through that because that was tough, man. Honestly, it
yeah, I
was.
think
I don't know, man.
yeah, it's just like I've never been through that, but then I can understand how annoying that could be.
Yeah, and
That's
you
why I
were
said
like you witnessed it
I
technically.
was pissed. I was so
Yeah,
tempted to be like, ask her to, like, I easily could become the rude person in the conversation.
bro, I couldn't.
I would have
I'm not a
lost
rude
my
person, man. I can never even. We're doing this, I didn't be
oh,
rude once. Like I don't know,
right.
but now
Yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
what, Dan? Shout out Dan, man, for reeling because he said that we should make this website for like
rate the
rating
client,
bad
right?
clients. And bro, because of I just realized like well, we actually 100% should because like
Yeah,
clients like
because
this, bro. Imagine
they
because
have
I
no
didn't complete a
consequence.
website. Imagine like she goes to another Webflow developer and does the same thing. Like we gotta
Yeah,
protect, the people
yeah,
in our industry.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I think that was a good idea, but then also so like it's like glass door, isn't it? Like where employees can sort of rate their companies and
mm,
sort of tell people like how good it is or how bad it is. It could be done. Maybe we should do it actually, but I don't know
yeah,
how people will use it or will people actually use it?
yeah.
Because
But then again, like
if let's
most
say
of
I
the
if
yeah,
let's say I work with company X and it turns out that they aren't good, and I go and put that on the site, even though I put it as anonymous, that company still knows. Even if they come to find out, they know that I worked on it.
hmm,
Like that could lead to like unnecessary problems, isn't it?
yeah, they
Like
could sue you for like
yeah, like defamation or like you're
yeah, defamation and
tarnishing the
stuff.
image
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I don't know how useful. Like I mean,
It is very tricky to do.
it's
Yeah,
a good idea, but like I don't. And if it's anonymous, then anybody can put a review for any company. You won't
and
even know
it
who's in it.
could like. But this sounds like some line of a movie, but it could go in the wrong hands if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Like
like,
you can just start
yeah,
tarnishing
like for
some
example, a
companies.
competitor can just go on and leave a bad review for the competitor. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
there
know.
there
Yeah.
has to be moderation and all that. But for me, it's just about if I do genuinely put up a bad review, and then the client sort of sees it and they cause like more problem, which is unnecessary. If it's only good
Mm,
reviews, then it's again beats the point of it, because then,
yeah,
if most people are just going to be putting good reviews, then there's no point in like having a site for it. I don't know. It's a good idea, but logistically, I don't know how that will work. We should
yeah.
we should see. But yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
bro, you're getting, bro. That got me hot, man. I can't lie. Thinking of that client, bro. Oh
PTSD.
god, it's the bro PTSD. I swear to God, it actually is because it brings back bad memories,
But
bro.
then the good thing is like that was a
Because during that
conversation.
time, this sounds so
Yeah.
weird, innit? But that was the first time where I used to go on walks because I was just like, bro, I don't know what to do. I was at home, like just stressed. I was like, bro,
I
I need to
can
go for a walk.
I can imagine. Yeah.
That
I,
was
I, I
like the
tend to
first time in my
do
life
that
where
as
I actually
well.
went for a walk, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah. I do that as well whenever like a client work becomes stressful. You just get very
Yeah,
anxious, isn't it? Like, oh, what's gonna happen?
just go for a walk, go to the
Yeah.
gym,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I don't
tough,
know,
man.
just take your mind off it, isn't it? But and
Yeah.
the other thing as well is that during this time, I was locked in my house, bro. Like I didn't have,
Oh, it was like
I wasn't in
2020, isn't it?
uni.
Or
This
20. Yeah, yeah. It was
this was during the
2021.
summer. This was during the summer, so I had like no uni. I was in, this is like I was 1 year in my gap year, so for like
Yeah.
one whole year, I didn't speak to anyone, bro. So I was like super, you can say like I don't know. I just had no social life, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
I can
only like the
understand.
only person I knew was Vermont, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, you were like
yeah,
asking me what to do, and
yeah,
I was
yeah, yeah,
raging out at myself. I'm like, oh my god, how can she do this? Is this even legal?
yeah,
I was like, oh, how can she sue you? It's gonna cost more than just paying you for the damn site. Why would anyone do
yeah.
that?
Just pay me like
Just
3 hours. I don't give a
so
shit, man. Honestly, I don't.
annoying.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move
Yeah,
on. Let's move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think
those
I
were
think
horror
the
stories. Like,
next
yeah,
yeah, but I think we should be clear on what makes a
yeah,
client bad. And
hmm
I think as you say, you're I think both our experience sort of combines into
hmm
like a very good list of like I think the first one is just the moment they become disrespectful, like how she was to you.
hmm
I think that's when you just quit. Like you just
100%.
fire
Yeah,
the client. Like you start calling you names, or not respecting the work that you're doing. Not respecting the time. Or
yeah,
especially in the creative industry, people sort of think or creative work or design work is just you press a button and it's there. It's not considered work. But yeah, the moment you feel sort of like you're not being treated properly, it's just worth canceling on the client.
yeah.
It's not
And
worth
I
how
think, yeah, yeah. Just to add to that, like, I think a lot of freelancers think,
it's
um,
fine or
yeah, it's fine.
just
I'll just take it. But like, I mean, it's very subjective. Like, how do you know a client is being rude? But if you
I mean
feel like they're being rude to you,
yeah,
then just
yeah.
just just cancel
If you
it. It
just
doesn't
feel
matter
like
about what. Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't
if
matter
you
about
just
what
feel
terms
it,
you have. Just tell them
yeah,
straight up. Like, I think you're being rude. I don't think we can continue this relationship,
yeah,
and just sack it off.
you
Like,
better
yeah,
find someone.
and
Lose
yeah,
what does I normally do is like I don't really care if I lose the money. And again, it's a fortunate
yeah,
position to be in, but
hmm
it's not worth the whatever money they're gonna pay you
yeah.
just to deal with their crap.
Yeah, if a client is being rude, that is a big enough reason for you to
There
fire
is
them.
a
And
yeah,
I think a lot
like
of people think, oh no,
immediately.
yeah,
Yeah,
because there's a
immediately.
big thing going around like, in business you should stay emotionless. But I think it's like, yeah, you shouldn't let your emotions get in the way. But when a client is being rude, that's a whole different
Yeah, I
story.
mean, if they have
You know
different
what I mean? So
opinion or they want something else or they want it done a certain way, it's fine. But if they start again criticizing your work or like condemning you, like personally attacking your work and stuff like that, that is a no. Like, I mean,
hmm
why would you deal with that? It's like they're just bullying you, isn't it?
yeah, so yeah, that's a good enough reason. And another one is scope creep. I think a lot.
Classic.
Everyone knows about
And I
scope
think
creep.
this is where the most people sort of you wouldn't call them a bad client because it's very natural to just have, oh, can we just add one more thing? And we just want to be like, be good people and sort of over deliver. It's like, yeah, fine, one extra bit is not gonna really add too much of to the
hmm
project already. But that attitude sort of keeps going on and on and on. That like at one point you're just like, okay, now it's way beyond the scope.
hmm
And I have this tendency where I just end up being like, I just say yes because I just want to get them what they want, isn't it? Just be a
hmm
good
Over
business.
deliver and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then at some point it just becomes a bit too much, which
Yeah.
then a lot of us are afraid to say like, oh, that's out of scope, especially without a contract or without a clear defined scope document. It's very hard to say what's in scope, what's out of scope. And I think once you sort of get this scope creep. Like it's gonna once or twice is fine, I think. But if it sort of just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's much easier
Yeah,
just to stop, tell them like, hey, look, this is not in scope. Pay me more and I'll do it, or give me more time, I'll do it.
yeah.
And I think most people would usually just give you the time and
Yeah,
the
and I think it comes back again to the point where you should set, you as a freelancer should set the boundaries to say, okay,
yeah,
what is the beyond the scope and what is not. So
yeah,
it is like the saying, bad clients come for bad freelancers. Is true in a way, because if you do not set correct boundaries, if you do not like set a clear line, whether that's in a form of a contract or an email saying, okay,
yeah,
if these are the exact number of pages or components you want, anything above will incur an additional fee.
yeah,
It's your job
yeah,
as a freelancer to make sure that gets done. And
yeah.
yeah, so
I'm
to do
definitely
that, just
guilty
make
of
sure
it
you have
as
a
well.
contract and stuff.
Yeah, I was still guilty of it up until recently, where I just
Yeah.
it's just verbal agreement or just through email
Hmm.
and we just get working. But
Yeah.
then yeah, the scope creep is very hard to justify or like show them it's a scope creep because there's no reference. They can just be
Yeah.
like, there's no proof to it, right? So but
Hmm.
now having a system for that makes it a lot easier just to be like more confident and say like, look, check the document, look at the last date,
Yeah.
modify it. That was it's just
Yeah.
much
And
easier
it
to do
makes
it.
it makes the client respect the freelancer more in a way.
Yeah, yeah, because they can't
Um,
argue against it. Like it is written
mhm.
somewhere and they agreed to it. So I think
Yeah.
having a solid contract and a scope document
Yeah.
is a lot more important.
Yeah. And I think another thing that makes a bad client is when they don't respect your time. For example, like if a client just emails you constantly, they like call you
Yeah,
at night, for example, they
yeah,
first thing in the
yeah,
morning be like, yeah, get this stuff done right now. It's like
yeah,
if a client is not respecting your time, then that's another reason for you to fire them. Just be like, okay, or before you fire them, like tell them, yo, I don't think, no, don't say yo,
yeah.
obviously, but say, hey,
I mean,
I
most of
don't
them,
think
yeah, they'll
you're
be like,
whatever.
if they keep texting you in the weekends and expect you to work during
Yeah,
the weekends,
weekends or like after 5 or
if they don't
whatever,
pay you for it, then just tell them, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of freelancers get into the habit of just replying as soon as a
Yeah,
client texts. Like,
because we're always
don't do that.
online,
Like,
isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like, only one thing I would say is like never reply to a client. Actually, not never, but most clients do not reply to them over the weekend unless it's like unless it makes sense. If it's like a normal client, don't reply to them
yeah,
on the weekend. Just reply,
just yeah,
or don't even reply to them outside of working hours. It's just at first it makes it look more professional, and it kind
yeah,
of sets the boundaries already. Because if the
yeah,
client messages on the weekend and you don't
yeah,
reply to them, they'll be like, okay, I won't message on the weekend again, and they won't annoy you
yeah,
if that makes sense. So
yeah.
it's
Again,
again, it all
guilty.
comes down to setting
Yeah,
boundaries as a
yeah.
freelancer.
I'm definitely guilty of it because I'm always online, always checking stuff. And
Yeah.
then if they text you, it's just easy to text them back. But that sort of adds to the thing of like, oh, he's online on a Saturday. Okay, good. Ask him to do. Can you make this? Can you do that? Can you do this?
Hmm.
And it just sort of gets into your personal time as well. Again, yeah,
Yeah.
you should set boundaries, have systems in place to sort of mitigate.
Definitely.
I think these all bad clients are a good way for you to learn processes, and it's definitely why I have some processes. Otherwise, it's very easy to not have these processes because it just doesn't feel like it's a point. It's not a good use of time because you're not
Hmm.
actually doing anything useful technically, but it's like sort of insurance for the future. Like you just got to put
Right.
some time in just to get all the systems in place, and then things will be much easier down the line.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And just to add to like the scope creep part, I think like I think when because when you were talking about scope creep, I was thinking, okay, how about if you want to over deliver? How can you over deliver if you don't want a client to be scope creeping? If that makes sense. But I
Hmm.
think like if a client is being just a little bit above the scope, like for example, they want like one extra, like it'll take you like 5 minutes to do, then do it, like over
That
deliver.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, I think
Yeah.
I think instead of someone says it's like was it Joe? It's you just do get it done. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the motive a lot of people have is like get just do what the client says. Like as in just get it done, make them
Mm-hmm.
happy, deliver the product, deliver the service to their expectation, isn't it? But then
Mm-hmm.
there is of course a boundary, right?
Yeah. There's a
I
limit.
always
Yeah.
yeah, there's always a path of least resistance, which is just do it. Like whatever they ask you, just do it. It's just much
Mm-hmm.
easier. But there's a point where they start exploiting you. And
Mm-hmm.
once you feel it, that's when you know, okay, that's a
Yeah.
bit too
I think
far.
that's a good way of putting it. Once you feel like they're exploiting you, they're taking
Yeah,
advantage of your time.
Yeah,
whatever, that is a form of disrespect in a way. And again,
yeah,
if they are
because
doing that, then
if they're a
just
good
tell
client,
them,
they'll
you
be
know what I
like,
mean? So
yeah, good clients, you know, whenever they ask you to do something extra, they will know it, they will mention it, and and if they're a great client, they will actually pay for it. Like I
yeah,
had a client who honestly paid me a lot more than most clients, and then he wanted to change the design of the homepage, and he changed the design, and then he was like, oh hey, we changed the design for the homepage. Hope it's not it looks much better. Let me know what's the extra cost and the time that it takes to do it. I would have
yeah,
genuinely just done it for free because he's paying a lot for it. But the fact
mhm,
that he knows it is extra work and it's going to take extra time, he willingly wanted to pay for it. That instantly puts like, okay, this guy really, like, you now want to do over deliver a lot more work.
yeah.
That's
It
a
motivates
great,
you to over deliver, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, that is a great client. But most clients, they'll be like, hey, I know this is a bit out of scope, but if you can do it, it's fine. Otherwise, it's not a problem. That is
Hmm.
also fine, because if you know that it's extra work that you're not paying for, you shouldn't force me to do it, or you shouldn't make it like, oh, you
Yeah.
must do this, because you don't agree to it.
Hmm.
They should be like, oh, that's fine, we can, if it's not too difficult, you can do it. If it's too difficult, skip it. We're not an
Yeah.
issue. That is also fine. The quote unquote bad clients sort of come in with like, this is what we want, do it now. I'll give you this many
Yeah.
time, this much time, do it now. And then
Oh yeah, and I hate those. I don't want to say hate. That's a strong word, but when those clients, they say, "Oh, track your hours," or like send me a
oh
screenshot of the
yeah, yeah,
process, and like,
yeah, it's
bro,
just
just
like,
chill out. Like that. That
chill
is
out.
another thing of is like, I mean, it all comes down to personal preference.
I
Once you get
get
to a
it.
level where like, yeah,
I
yeah,
get
once
it.
you get
Like
to a
I
level where
get
you
like,
can afford to
yeah,
like have clients, then you can like kind of pick and choose your clients. Whereas like if a client is being, if you don't like it when a client tells you track your hours or send screenshots, then you don't need to take them on. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
I
So
mean, yeah. I normally don't like the moment they say like, "Hey, give us daily updates." I say,
yeah,
like,
bro.
"Hey, no, we don't do daily updates because it's very difficult to sort of keep track of what we're doing every day. Some days,
Hmm.
we might work the full day. Some days we just do half a day because we have other things to do. It's not like they're
Hmm.
paying you for the full. I mean, unless they're paying you hundreds and thousands of dollars, you're not putting all your time in one project. You're just doing, you're doing multiple different projects. I
Hmm.
usually just be like, no, this is how we do. We don't give you daily updates. We give you maybe every 2 days. We'll tell you what we're up to, but just trust
Hmm.
us. We'll get it done. I get that it is a bit unsafe to trust freelancers like that, but at the end of the day, you're
Hmm.
a freelancer. You get to choose, and that's why most people should freelance, isn't it? Like, you have the
Hmm.
power to choose who you work for and what you're gonna do. Why would you, put yourself through things that you don't want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to end off this topic. I think. Okay, we're gonna move on to this. Might sound like a lot of the audience might go, "Huh? I'm a bad freelancer," but you may be a bad freelancer and you might not know it. And I just want to talk a little bit about what this means.
I think
And
we
we,
sort of
yeah,
covered a lot of it. It's just that,
yeah.
yeah, it's like anything, it's always your fault. Like, part of it's also your fault for allowing this to happen. And for me, I think, as I said, it's just not having the process of dealing with all this quote unquote bad client, which is why you're a bad freelancer, because you're not prepared for this.
So a lot of people might not know it, but they may be a bad freelancer, and you know, and the reason why I'm saying this is because your client might not be a bad client. You might just have so much high expectations of clients. And
Yeah,
I think this is like where people go wrong, where they just quickly jump as soon as the client does that one little thing that annoys you, you just say, oh, you're a bad client, you're a bad client. Just put
yeah,
that label on them straight away. And I think people just should just like hold their horses and really think about, because labeling a client a bad client is like, it's not something that, is easy.
yeah.
It takes a lot for a
As
client to come
every
back.
if every single friction you just say it's a bad
Yeah.
client, then you are a bad freelancer.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly. Like if you,
yeah,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. And some of the little, and one of the main things is like, for example, if a client critiques your design, I've seen this a lot with freelancers, where like a client, for example, they say, "Oh, I don't like what you done with this design. Can you please like perhaps?" And they give you ideas. And as soon as the client critiques the design, they're like, well, "Why is this
yeah,
guy critiquing my design?" It's like,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you just instantly label them as a bad client. And I don't think freelancers should do that. That makes you a bad freelancer because you can't take criticism. So I think
Yeah.
number one thing is like make sure that you can take criticism. And if a client is being respectful, a client has all the rights in the world to critique their work, because at the end of the day, they're
Anyone
paying
can
for your
critique your
service,
work. Yeah.
right? Exactly. It's like,
It's
and
just that
I think it's
depends
more of like
on.
an ego thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it's also like when they give the criticism, right?
Right.
For me,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't like it when you do it at the very end of a project because I just want to wrap it up and go move on to the
Hmm.
next one, and then they come and like, oh, this is not that, that's not right, this is not right. It's just like you could have told me that like 2 weeks ago and would have made it a
Yeah.
lot easier. Like stuff like this. It's just annoyance. It doesn't make them a bad
Hmm.
client.
Hmm.
And again, as I said, having a process of like asking them for feedback much earlier, even in the first iteration of like when you're building it on Webflow, helps avoid all of this. Again, you have to go
Yeah.
through this process and find a process that works for you, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I think again, it's like about experiencing a lot of clients, and then figuring out, okay, fine, in this project, I learned, this one, XYZ went wrong. I'm
yeah,
gonna find a solution for XYZ, and then add that to your next project. And that's what I've
yeah,
done with my Nightmare client. Like I learned so much, and then for the next project that I got, it saved my,
yeah.
as I learned a lot, and I put
Same.
new constraints. I made a new
Yeah.
contract and made sure to not use templates. I made like a whole Notion document
You
of
learn a
my
lot
process.
more from one bad client than you do with
Yeah.
10 good clients. Like you
So I
just
think
got it.
it
It's
is, but it's like
essential. It's
inevitable, isn't it, for
yeah,
freelance
it's
to get a bad
inevitable. Yeah.
client?
Yeah.
And
But you just got
it
to
is
make
kind of
sure
good in a way. Yeah.
it's just got to make sure it's not end up being a big client. Like if
Yeah.
your, I don't know, your $20,000 client ends up being a bad client, most
Mm,
of the time your process wasn't there to deal with it, because every client will become a bad client if you don't know how to deal with it.
yeah.
Like it's very easy for it to go the other way. You just got to have
Yeah.
systems and places to just deal with it. I guess I think that's the
Yeah.
final
I think, yeah,
takeaway.
just to wrap up this topic is like
Yeah,
you may be a bad freelancer if you do not set the correct boundaries, and that means if you overpromise and then you underdeliver. I think that's the one huge thing. A second thing is like if you can't take criticism, over the slightest piece of resistance that you face with a client, you just label them as a bad client. I think that's not what you
yeah,
should do. You as a freelancer, client comes to you with problems, they're paying you to solve a problem. If they don't like a part of your design, your job is to make sure why they don't like it and then solve it. So if a client, comes up to you, yeah, so make sure that you can take criticism and help the actual client, you know what I mean? So I think those are like the main 2 points that make a bad freelancer. And there's a lot of sub points,
yeah,
make sure you have a contract in place, make sure, you have a correct scope and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're not doing all of this stuff, you may be the problem and not the client, if you haven't, if you don't have a good process, if you don't know how to take criticism, and you're getting all of these bad clients that you so assume, you may be a bad freelancer. So yeah, make sure that you're doing your job properly. Yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. So that the next thing we want to talk about is, let's say you have a bad client. When should you fire the client? I think Vermaelen, I think you did fire a client before, so you can like yeah,
yeah. I
you can
think
start off with this topic.
honestly, it's the moment where you just feel like you don't want to work with them anymore. Like you, for me, when I fired that client, I just don't want to work with them anymore. Just take. I don't care if you take away the 50% away. I just don't care. I just want the peace of mind.
Hmm.
And that's when you just be like, hey, look, it's not working out. Um, happy for you to go find someone else. Happy for you to keep the 50. Every time when you're
Yeah,
firing the client, you cannot expect them to pay you full amount, right? You if you're firing the client, you have to lose the money at the end of the day. If you want the money, you have to deal with it. But most of the time, I'm just like, hey, look, and it's to a point where I just cannot do it anymore. Like just me dealing with them sort of becomes like a dreadful thing. Like, oh my god, I have to
yeah.
finish that site. I
And
have to
I think
finish.
like yeah, I do agree, and I think a good way to like sum everything up in like a sentence is, I think I wrote this down in my notes, but it's, when you should fire a client, you should fire a client when the value exchange between you and the client is
Yeah,
uneven. And
yeah,
is that, for
yeah,
example, if you're not getting as much value as you're giving them, if that makes sense, that not they're not giving you as much value as you're giving them. Does that make sense? So like,
yeah,
and this could be like you can apply this in different ways. So let's say, for example, like you said, the client was just getting on your nerves. He was just like, making you dread the project. Gives you like this bad feeling inside, and
Yeah.
that is because of them being, maybe they might have been disrespectful, maybe they might be going beyond the scope, and
Yeah.
all of
For
that
me,
stuff just
yeah.
made you resent them in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
like
value
it's a
you're
very
giving them, yeah,
yeah. It's like small things that just keep
yeah,
adding
yeah,
up,
it
adding
all
up.
adds up, and
Yeah.
yeah, all of that stuff is not worth the money they're paying you.
Yeah.
So that's like the uneven value exchange. And if as soon as you face that, just fire them, because it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
headache and suffering stress because of a client is not worth any money in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it's
Because
figures.
the
But
client
yeah,
the client I fired, I was literally like on a call with them. I had my camera off, I had my mic muted, and I was just face palming the entire call. And
yeah, yeah.
it was like a 1 hour call as well. I'm just like, it was just so stressed because they did not understand what was the web, and all the
Hmm.
feedback that he was giving me in the Zoom call was just so ridiculous to the point where I'm like, I even though if they paid me double the amount, I don't want to do it because they will never be happy with. They just don't understand it. So for me to
Yeah,
teach them and explain it to them and get them to accept it, it's just way too much than the money they were going to pay. I was like, you know what, just keep the
yeah,
money.
that makes
At the
sense.
end of the
Yeah,
day, fair to them, they did pay half of the half that we were supposed to pay. So we still got 75% of the money. We just lost 25%. That's fine. But it's just, it's just like if I had to deal with it, I would probably go crazy.
yeah. And I think like that's one scenario, but another scenario could be where, for example, if they are slightly, scope creeping, but
Hmm.
they're paying you a lot, and the client is like, they're a big client, they've got a good network of referrals,
I mean,
they,
I
the
think I
actual
think at the
project,
end of the
yeah,
day, we should just trust our instinct. I think a lot of people just
yeah,
don't do it. Like the moment you feel it's a bad client, the moment you feel it's not a good lead, just say no. Like it's very hard
yeah.
and I think I always fall on that part where it's just very hard for
And
me to
yeah, I
say
do
no.
agree with you to an extent, because I think right now, for like people that have can't afford to lose clients, I think that's a good way of, thinking, and
I
a good
mean,
mindset to have. But I think when you're starting out, and for example, let's say like there's a client, they have a good
I
network of
mean, even
referrals.
even no, I kind of disagree with
Is
that.
it? Oh,
Even
I think
even
for me
even
it's like, yeah,
no,
if for example,
for
if a
me,
client has like a good network of referrals, and the project itself is like not a good network of referrals, I think that's a bad example. But let's say like the project itself will really like boost up my portfolio, then I may be able to put up with slight, scope creeping and stuff like that.
I
But
again,
again,
it depends
there
on.
is a very fine line between that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
again, as long as you're okay with it and you know it, but
mhm,
again, the moment you feel like I think no matter even if Apple comes to you and just starts telling you to do this, do that, make this, make that change, and starts calling you, C word and a D word and an F word, you're not gonna deal with it, even though you can put the Apple logo. At some point, you'll be like, you know what, it's not worth it. Why am I
yeah.
putting up with this? At that point, it's just
Mm. Oh yeah, of course, but that's because they're crossing like a line that,
yeah,
as soon
yeah.
as you cross
As
that,
long
no matter what, you have to fire them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I'm talking
yeah.
about like, for example, when you're first starting out, they may be scope creeping in a little bit. They may
I,
be asking for a
that
few
that
extra
still happens,
changes.
isn't it? That's fine.
Yeah,
Like again, as long as
and
they're being
then
respectful, as long as you know what it
yeah,
is, I think we should just.
I think like FinSuite would like, I think they would agree with me, because even with the Hello Sign project, I remember Joe was like, yeah, I don't know everything. Like, did he say that or not? Because he literally said, you don't have to pay me. Like, you tell me your price, and I don't matter. Like, he said he don't care what the
Again, that
price
that
is. He'll
that
do it
still
because
comes.
it will look good on his portfolio.
Again,
So
that's
like the
because
value
you
exchange
want it.
was, yeah.
No, that's because you want it. That's different. But if it's
Hmm.
the opposite, if they tell you like, oh, you work on this, you're gonna get a great portfolio work and stuff like that.
Oh right, yeah,
No.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Of
It's
course, yeah,
always
yeah,
again, you just trust the instinct. I think
yeah, yeah.
it is powerful but underused.
All right, so the next topic, guys, is how do you even fire a client? Let's say the client is just getting on your nerves. They scope creeping to the max. They're calling you on the weekends. Like, how do you even fire a client? And I think a lot of people, even I struggled with this when I was trying to fight. I was like, what do I say? Like, bye bye. I don't know what to say. So I
Bye
think we
bye.
made it like a couple. Exactly. I didn't know how to. So we made a couple of like bullet points. And the number one thing to make sure is be polite. Like, no matter what you do, no matter how. rude they're being to you, always be polite and just be honest. And that's number one, be polite. Number two is be honest about why you're firing with them. Just say, okay, I think you done this and this and this, and these are my reasons why I don't feel like we can continue our relationship. And just be like, and then yeah, that's what you should say. And so give them, number one, be polite. Number two, give them reasons. And number three is make sure that at the end of your email or your call, whatever, make sure that you give them options to how they can continue the project. And a great way of doing this is just sending a link to the Webflow experts page. Or perhaps, if it is a bad client, you kind of do not want to refer them to your friends. So I would just send a link to, the experts page, or tell them to search on Google or whatever, or jump on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. And I think those are the three things to do
In terms
when
of,
it
yeah,
comes to
what I
mediating.
said is very similar. It's just like, hey, I took a look at this, and this is way beyond the scope, and at this point it's just not what I usually say. I'm just busy. I just be like, oh,
Mhm,
at this point I'm just wrapped up with other projects. I just cannot complete this. Happy for you. I said, I think we should just stop working together, and happy for you to move on with somebody else. I also just add the line where you can keep the 50% deposit and the final 50% the payment, since we
mhm.
can finish the project.
Yeah,
Again, it's just a good sign. You can't force them to pay anyways, so might as well assume they're gonna just go away with the 50%. And then say, if they do ask for a referral, say you don't know anyone if they're a really bad client. I won't even say
yeah,
go search in Google or whatever. It's just, if not a good client, they should just deal with it themselves.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's what you should say. And then I think that somebody from the audience may have a question where, let's say you send this email or call, whatever, and the client fires back at you like they done to me. What are you going to do in that scenario if they fire back? Be like, no, you know, we done this. We had an
That's why
agreement. I
that's
paid you.
that's why that's why you say I'm happy to lose the 50%, like the deposit. Well, I can just take the deposit for whatever work I've done. You, if you have done work, you can't say no, I didn't do anything, because there's literally a physical copy.
Hmm.
Take a copy of the site, transfer it to them, just give them everything they need so that they can go find someone else, and take the 50% hit. I think that's just fair. Even if they shout back at you, what can they do, right?
Hmm.
They can't even sue you, because everything's to them. They have the site and everything, and you're even losing the 50% of the money. So I think most client, 99.9%, will just be like, yeah, that's fine, I'll find someone else.
Yeah, most of the clients will, but unfortunately, in my scenario, that wasn't the case.
Yours
But
was just you're just
yeah, that was
unlucky.
like this is like once in a blue moon type of stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think for the majority of the people out there, you want to experience that. Most people
Yeah.
are generally nice people and they'll understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that wraps it up. Just like an ending note. Do you want to say anything for Marlon or?
No, nothing particular. I think we kind of spoke
Yeah,
quite a
I
lot.
think yeah, just got a few things to say. Like again, like whatever we said in this episode is like not all clients are bad. Like most of the clients that you will get are going to be good clients. I think that the main takeaways are like make sure that you set the correct boundaries in place to make sure that you don't get a bad client in the first place. And secondly is, don't straight away jump to, as soon as you face a little bit of resistance, you're like, oh, this client is bad. Don't do that. Um, and yeah, if you are going to find them, make sure that you're always polite. And I think those are like the main takeaways. All right, guys. So that wraps up episode 17. And yeah, if you did find any value in this episode, make sure you drop a comment. Sorry, make sure you like and drop a comment. And we are trying to hit 200 subscribers very soon. We are very close. So make sure
How
that you hit subscribe. I think we have
what
like 20 subs left. We're on 180,
really?
I believe, at the
Damn.
time of this recording. But
Yeah.
yeah, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the bell notification button. If you think this will help another freelancer, make sure you
Yeah.
can share it with them. But yeah,
180.
we also, if you guys have any questions that you have, any topic ideas, you can drop them in the comments, or you can send one of us a personal message on LinkedIn. That's the best way
It's
to reach
mostly
us.
you, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, we hope you enjoy this one, and we'll see you perhaps this Friday or next week, Wednesday, whatever. All right, we'll see you next time. All right, guys, take care. Bye bye.